Have you ever wondered how to reduce your trash? How to maybe live even a zero waste life? How to reduce the trash when you grab a cup of coffee, when you're out, having dinner, meeting with friends in the park, or just using general items in your kitchen? How can I reduce the amount of trash I produce every day? So today we have a special guest in our show, Ana Milhazes. She's an expert in zero waste, practicing it for many years. She's consulting on it, she's giving trainings on it, and mainly she's telling us to go slowly. So come with me and join the talk show about zero waste. Hi everybody, today I have Ana Milhazes tuning in and as a guest here today. Hi Ana, how are you doing?
Hi, Philip. I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you so much for your time. So why did I invite Anna? She was recommended by me to me also by a friend talking about zero waste, and she's a book author. She has a blog. She offers services. Many interesting things she has to talk about when it comes to zero waste. Good tips, good hints. I don't want to talk too much about it. So first, as always, I would like you to introduce yourself, maybe where you're coming from and what brought you to this topic of zero waste, and especially your website is called Anna Goes Slowly. So my question was, hey, were you too fast before, or how did you come up with this idea?
Yeah, so it's a very long story, but I try to make it shorter. So my name is Ana. I am from Porto in Portugal, and I'm living here at the moment, and I really love it. So I am a sociologist, but I worked for almost 10 years for IT companies as a trainer, software tester, and also for the last 4 years as a project manager. So I had a lot of stress at work, and in like more or less 10, 11 years ago, and I was 27 at the time. And I thought, yes, great. I have like the checklist. I have everything. I have a good job. I love my job. I love my colleagues. I just bought a house near the beach, stable relationship, everything. But I was not happy. It seemed like something was lacking. So at the time, I thought it was a problem of organizing myself better. So I don't know, remember why. I loved the internet, always searching information. And I found a blog, an American one. I don't remember what was the blog about minimalism. So I knew minimalism from the architecture, decor, and so on, but not as a lifestyle. And it made so much sense because instead of organizing all the stuff that you have at home, if you have less stuff, you don't have to organize at all. So I decided to start with clothes and shoes because I was completely full of clothes and shoes. I think I was addicted going to the shopping mall and buy stuff. So I started reducing that. And then I reduced it. I think I reduced everything in my house, like in the bathroom, in the kitchen, everything, and just keep the essentials. And then a funny thing was I even reduce the things that are not physical. So even people that you just go to grab a coffee with and you don't feel comfortable afterwards, and I decided, come on, and I don't need to keep going and keep having conversation with these kind of people. Even at work, go to dinners that I didn't want to go. So it was like I made like a big cleans up in my life, and I just felt happier. I had much more time, and I was just happier. So I decided to create a blog 1 year later in 2012, and the name Ana Goes Slowly actually came from this mantra from Thich Nhat Hanh, which is a Buddhist monk that I really love, and I love his philosophy. He says, "Smile, breathe, and go slowly." And because I'm always very fast, even today, I thought to myself, I need something to remind me that I can do all the stuff that I want, but I just needed to do it slower. So the blog started like that, just to share my experiences. I started to, people start giving me feedback that they try to just do on a daily basis what I was talking about, that I experimented in my life. And they said, oh, and I'm feeling happier. I feel that I have now less stuff at my house. I don't need like 4 hours to clean my full house. In 1 hour, I clean everything. And so we started slowly like that. And a few years later, in 2016, that was the moment when I really decided to go zero waste. I remember once again, I went online and just searched how can I produce less waste. I didn't find anything in Portuguese, and in English, I found a blog from Bea Johnson, Zero Waste Home, which is the person that started all of this movement. And I immediately bought her ebook. I think she had an ebook and a book at the time. I bought the ebook. I started reading, and I said, "Okay, I have to do this," because they were a family of 4 with a dog. They had a jar, more of this. They produced a jar this size of trash each year. And I said, okay, I can do better. So basically, I started to, once again, like with the minimalism, to implement some changes in my life and to write about them at the same time. And I founded the group, the Facebook group, which is called Lixo Zero Portugal. In English, is more Zero Waste Portugal. Just so that I can find people that were trying to do the same, or people that were already living this lifestyle, because I felt very alone. Even today, sometimes I feel alone, but yeah. So this community just started. We are more than 11,000 members now. I also organized many events, zero waste events. And so slowly people started asking me to do workshops and lectures about zero waste and sustainability and so on. So at the time, so this was in 2017, I was doing everything at once. So I was giving yoga classes because I was already a yoga teacher at the time. The yoga classes was part of the Go Slowly plan. So it really helps me to just slow down. So I was giving yoga classes. I was a project manager at a company, and I was working like 12 or 14 hours. I wrote to my blog, and I still give the workshops about zero waste and sustainability. So it was a lot. I got a burnout, depression. So it was, I think, a push up from life just to, Anna, you really have to change your life for good. And at the time, I just quit my job and I just started living from my passions.
Wow, interesting story. So this is where the term Anna go slowly then come from. It's more like an imperative to yourself, and then
Yep.
realizing this is what I want to also, yeah, teach and live really. And I saw recently you just published a book, currently
Yep.
available in Portuguese, called Zero
Exactly.
Waste in English. There it is. You can
Mhm.
see it. Maybe you can pronounce the Portuguese name for us.
Yes, in Portuguese is Viva Lixo Zero. And also you have, like, the second line of the book is just learn how to live in a simpler, more sustainable and happier way. So it really was my goal with this book. So it was released in, actually it has 2 years. It was released in January 2020. So just before the pandemic. So I was able to do the big presentations in Portugal, in Porto, in Lisbon, some other cities, and then the pandemic just hit. And what I really wanted to do with the book, it's just write something that is very practical, because I love to read, and sometimes I just read a good book and I say, "Oh my God, I love this book," but then I just put it on the shelf and I forget completely about it. And I really wanted the book to have a lot of challenges. So imagine you are reading the part of the book that talks about your kitchen and the way you can organize the kitchen, reduce the food waste, and so on. And then what are, now that you have this information, what are you going to do? So at the end of each chapter, I have some small challenges that you can do. And I think it's easier because sometimes we just don't have time, right, in our lives. So if we have something with small tips, maybe try this and try that, I think that will be easier. So that was my goal with this book.
Very cool. Can you just give us one little example from the kitchen, for example, how you challenge people? What could be a challenge for the
Okay,
kitchen?
so I'm going to talk about my first challenges. So in 2016, when I looked to all my trash cans,
Hmm.
the biggest, well, the fullest were the plastic one and the organic. So for me, I decided to start with the things that I have the most, right? For me, it's easier because when I want to change something, I need to feel that the change is happening, fast.
Hmm.
So I did 2 things, and I think it's something that you can try, and it's easy. Related with the organic waste, you can maybe ask your city hall and if they collect this kind of waste, because some cities are already doing it. Or you have a very cool app which is called Share Waste, and you can see if your neighbors, they do the composting. If they do, it's so easy because you can just ring the bell, talk to them, and say, "I have my organic waste. Can I bring it each week or every other day?" And if they say yes, it's amazing. You can also ask I started like that. So each week I ordered a basket full of organic vegetables and fruits. And I thought for myself, maybe the farmers, they do the composting as well. So I asked them, in each week when I went to buy my basket, I had a jar where I can bring my own trash. So in that way, I think I reduced my trash in 60%. Then the plastic one, I know sometimes it's difficult for us to buy everything in bulk. We have actually a website in Portugal, which is called agranel.pt. In English is like inbulk.pt, where you can find all the stores in Portugal that you can buy things in, not full stores. You just don't need to be a completely zero waste store. It can be a supermarket or a supermarket chain, and you have a small corner where you can buy some things in bulk. So you can bring your own jars, your own bags, and you can buy just the amount that you want. So I invite people really to do that, because at the same time, you are, of course, not wasting all the packaging, but you are at the same time saving food from going to waste. Because imagine we want to cook like a dessert or something. And most of the times we don't need a kilogram of this and this and this, of all the ingredients. So if we just buy the amount that we need, that will be perfect. Because I know it's difficult to buy in bulk, I give another tip, that just look to your can, where is the plastic, and next time you go to the supermarket, try to grab the packaging with less plastic. So I know sometimes it's difficult to don't buy plastic at all, but imagine, I love cookies. And if I want, I can have one packaging that I have the small one, then in the one in the middle, and then the one outside. But maybe I have next to it in the same shelf or just down. Usually they are on the bottom. I have just one packaging with the cookies inside. So it's a very simple way, I think, to reduce. And most of the things are even cheaper because they don't have all of this packaging. Another thing, the last tip, people that feel more like activists like me, just write to the brand of the cookies that you love. They are full of all the packaging, and say, I really love your cookies, but I think I will just stop buying them because they are completely full of packaging, and I don't understand why do you use all this plastic. So if we really connect with the brands, with the companies, I think it's amazing, because really they exist because we consumers buy their products. So I think it's a very good way just to use our voice and to make a change.
Very inspiring. Especially you see the potential when you mentioned the Facebook group with like 11,000 people, and imagine you would call a boycott of whatever brand and tell the brand, look, I run a Facebook group and they agree with many things, and we say we have a common ground, and if you make your point, build your case, I'm sure they listen on. This is something we talk a lot about. And like, for example, I give courses on e-commerce and how e-commerce changed the voice of consumers in a positive way, giving communities empowerment. This is how we see how this empowerment can help us also to build a better future by just communicating, not even like saying I'm fighting against them, but saying, look, we are this group of consumers. We have different values and we don't want that trash. Just plain and simple. Can you produce something with less trash? And we be happier, you know? And there's companies that actually say, hey, thanks for telling us, because they spend thousands of euros on researching your preferences and then guessing maybe on your preferences. So they even many times very open to receiving really feedback. So this is a really interesting point, to be open also as a consumer to contact them, no, and not just expect everything to change, but also to suggest. No, I think that's a very constructive approach.
And the thing that you said is very important. Just have a respectful attitude, loving attitude. So I consider myself an activist almost every day, every minute of the day, but I do it in a calm way, you know, just from a suggestion point of view, a loving point of view, because if you are pointing the finger, you are not going to change anything. And I'm always telling this, even with my friends and my family. Of course, I'm not always talking about zero waste. I think I never talk about zero waste. But what I do every day is I live my lifestyle the way I believe I should live it. So I go, imagine we have an event, outside event, like the one that we have in Las Palmas, and I always bring with me my reusable water bottle, my cute reset. So people, we are just, engaging and talking and eating, and people just see, and sometimes they ask, "Oh, Anna, where did you buy this? And do you use this?" And so people just start engaging, and sometimes they said, "Okay, maybe if Anna does it and it's so easy, I can do it as well."
So what's your
So
on-the-go kit? They're talking about that. The
yes,
reusable coffee cup, maybe, reusable water bottle. You mentioned something
yes.
else. What
And
else?
the cutlery sets where I have a fork, a knife, a
Hmm.
spoon, and then a napkin as well, a cloth napkin. And I think those are the major ones. They are always with me. And sometimes if I go to street events and so on, I also have something where it can be a cloth or it can be a little box to put the street food, because then I will, in those kinds of events, it's always single-use plastic, right? Or
Yeah.
even if it's not plastic, it's always single-use. So I always bring my reusable items with me. So those are the major ones that
Must-haves,
are
the
my dear
must-haves.
friends must-haves. Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. No, interesting. I'm also having a lot of experience like bringing my own coffee cup, but I also encounter sometimes difficulties. No, that they say, "Oh no, I
Mm-hmm.
can't fill it up in my machine because you brought it here. I don't know if it's clean." I know from Germany they were very strict when it comes to like
Yeah.
sanitary things. Here in Spain, especially Canarians, they're a little bit more relaxed when it comes to that. They're like, just give it to me, but not everywhere. So I ask them sometimes, "Hey, can you just put it to me in a normal cup?" And then I fill it into my cup. And then sometimes they're like, come on, give it to me. Or they understand, but then they make some stupid comments like, but then I waste the washing machine costs for your cup, laughing. And I'm like, hmm. So it's
Yeah.
sometimes the point of communicating and breaking barriers still. Like even if you want to go zero waste, then they see you with your refillable cup and then they give you a plastic cup so that you can fill it in your cup. No, it's like, okay, purpose not fulfilled.
Yeah,
So
it
I see a
also
lot of
happened with
barriers
me.
many times. No.
Yeah. I think it's better when we have the time to explain why we are doing that. And I know that sometimes it's completely, if they are busy and it's difficult, you don't have the time to explain. But even when they use their own cup and they put it on yours, you are still making a point, because you are still using your own cup. People maybe next to you are watching, maybe, oh, if okay, he did that, maybe I can do it as well. So it's not the best, but I think it's still better than to just reuse the disposable one that they have. Sometimes also, and in Portugal that happens a lot, they have the real cups, like I always say, the ceramic
Hmm.
ones, and they have the plastic ones. And sometimes what I always ask is, I'm going to drink here, so please, can you give me the real one? Another day happened me a different thing. So I was not going to eat it. It was like those food corners where you have several restaurants, and I was not eating inside the restaurant because I was with some friends and I wanted to come outside. And I said, I'm going outside, but I really bring you the cup afterwards, because I cannot use plastic. I hate using disposable plastic. And the girl trusted me. And at the end, I brought the glass to her. But sometimes, yeah, they are working there, they are employees, they have to follow rules. So it's not easy. What I like to do sometimes is just to call the manager, because they can decide, they can understand better, they can argue a little bit with you, they can try to understand the reasons. But sometimes it's not easy. And sometimes I don't like to do that, but sometimes I have to just write a complaint.
Understand. That's also a way to be activist, also still in
Yep.
a respectful way. They have a template to fill out for a reason. It's there for a reason, and it's the
Yep.
right you have as a consumer too that we should execute if you think it's needed. No.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned a couple of things that I like a lot, like these reusable things. And you mentioned ordering a food basket. That's also something everybody can actually check in their local area. What farms
Mm-hmm.
deliver regional, seasonal fruits. You do organic and you support local economies. That's the part that I also emphasize a lot. I mean, economists can't help it. It's still my DNA. So I'm looking at things also from a macro perspective. But still talking about the household, no? In our family, for example, we decided for our kids that we wanted cloth diapers. You mentioned cloth, and
Mm-hmm.
that's also huge for parents. We produce so much plastic waste if we put our babies in plastic, actually, because diapers are nothing else but plastic, which is bad for their skin, for their health, for everything. And then it creates diaper rash, and then they need more cream, more waste. So the most wasteful thing is to actually buy diapers. I know the commodity of having throwaway diapers, but we decided for both kids to have cloth diapers, and we know we saved lots of plastic just by using that. And
Yes,
I
it's
can actually
amazing.
say I'm a bit proud by using that, because I had to wash them like every day, hang them every day, fold them every day. Instead of bringing just a little piece of thing in your backpack for diapers, we always had to bring a whole bag, duffel bag full of cloth things, because that was the difficult part. And I mean, and it's a conscious decision, and it's possible. Sometimes it's more inconvenient, but I'm bringing up this example. Why? I saved so much money. Maybe I can convince people also from that side, no? Because instead of always buying and buying and buying and buying, I had something reusable. I buy it one time. We even
Yep.
you can even buy them reused and then clean
And
them
then you can
properly. And
use in one kid and then in the other with the other
exactly,
kid.
and it saves you around 2,000 euros per year per kid. And I'm like, okay, if that's not an argument for you to go zero waste cloth diapers, I don't know. Yeah? So, okay, from the kitchen to the babies, to another topic that I would like to talk with you about. We mentioned that a bit earlier when we had a chat before. E-waste. No, it's the topic that I like to mention a lot lately, talking about now, because many people see technology as an end, as our salvation in a way. Yeah, it will solve sustainability issues by reducing carbon emission, becoming more efficient. But we as digital workers maybe also have a special responsibility to see beyond that and see that there might be even a negative aspect of digital use of materials, and we have the problem of e-waste. So you also have some interesting tips on this topic. So maybe you can explain a bit your experience around the topic of e-waste and what you do to reduce your digital footprint.
So in the beginning, just to mention here, we didn't talk about the 5 R's from zero waste, but quickly, it's the first one is refuse, the second one is reduce, the third one is reuse, and I'm going to talk about this one, then it's recycle, and then it's rot. So regarding the reuse, we should really just be able, instead of buying new, we should repair what we already have. I think it's very important. If I have a computer that it's still good, but something is not working well, I should repair it. I know that sometimes it's more expensive to repair than to buy new, but once again, as a consumers, I think we have this need, and we really need to change this, because we have to ask the brand, please, I want to repair this. You should be able to repair, have a repairing program, because it doesn't make any sense. The computer is still good and you are almost making me to buy a new one. So I always try to do that, to fix things. And the computer that I'm using here, my phone that I have here, I always buy secondhand all the time. And now I think it's easier. You can, of course, buy secondhand from a friend or a person that you see something online, but you also have stores that have the refurbished items, so you can buy a new, sometimes with even warranty. So they are not new, completely new, but almost new, still with warranty, because I know that sometimes people are a little bit afraid because it's something that is expensive and so on. So you have a lot of options, which I think is very important. In Portugal, and I guess in other countries as well, we have a program from Eletrão, where you can, when the things are not good and you cannot fix them, they try to recycle them. So they try to, some of the components, they can still reuse it and so on. And then, of course, when they cannot do anything else, it goes to trash, e-cycled trash, e-waste trash, which is very bad, of course. So I think the important message here is we also have to focus on the refusing, reducing, and reusing stuff. And then when we should follow these recycling programs. Another thing that we were talking earlier is, imagine, regarding emails, and we receive a lot of emails, and sometimes we have to send a lot of documents. I always try to have the same directory for all my documents, like it's Dropbox or Google Drive and so on. And I always send a link, because if we, by each email, we send a separate document, and now imagine that you have to send the same document now to another colleague or another friend. It's another email with another attachment. And the same goes to the signature that you have on your email. If you have a big image or a lot of information, each time you send an email, you need to send that information, and you need to, and sometimes I know you say, oh, it's in the cloud, I don't see the cloud, right? But the cloud needs servers, a lot of servers, and the servers need to be cool, to cool down. So that wastes a lot of resources. So I really think we need to think about that, even with the photos that we are taking with our phones all the time. Just take the time each week or at the end of each day just to erase the ones that are not good, because sometimes we take like 10 pictures and only 2 are good, and they are just there occupying space. Sometimes we have a lot of space in the phone, but still this is somewhere, this is in the cloud, but the cloud is somewhere. So we really have to think about that. I think even with now that we talked about books, even with the e-readers, if you like to buy ebooks, I don't remember the data now, but I know that it's to compensate to have an e-reader, you need to really read a lot of books. Otherwise, it's better to buy in paper. So what I try to do is the same thing. I have an old iPad that is still working only to read books, and I use it, because if I needed to buy a new one, e-reader, I think I wouldn't buy. I would just read in the computer. With the books, I try to buy secondhand as well. So we really have to think. Sometimes we think, okay, the electronic thing, the devices are better, but we really have to see, if we use it a lot, maybe it is better. If you don't use it a lot, it's not better. Or if we are a family of 4, for instance, we can share between all of us, or if we share a house with friends, and sometimes it's worth it just to buy one device for all of us.
I think it's very important to raise awareness on this, because from what I know, this is pretty recent topic. People that are conscious about it and been in this for a while, they have been thinking about that maybe for a long time, but for most of us, it's not. I also agree that the idea of buying secondhand laptops, I have very good experience with that. In Germany, there was a store I've always been getting my IT equipment from. They had this modular system. You could even rechange the memory. You can put whatever you want. It was super cool. You could customize your laptop 10, 15 years ago already. There was more circular than most companies nowadays. And they bought a big amount of business laptop lines from like the good ones, ThinkPad. They're like the more robust business lines, and now also Apple. And then they refurbished them, and then you could customize them, and it was easy to repair, good service. Yeah, that was one of my favorite places where I always got my equipment, and I really love that idea, and I'm thankful that you also share things about that from Portugal, and this idea is very, very nice. Here in Canary Islands, I have a bit of a problem to find something similar, also because of the import and export restrictions we have. So that's my challenge here when it comes to IT. One thing is that I want, and I know how to do it, but factually, I would have to actually travel somewhere to buy it, which would then be having negative impacts. Again, another 2 more comments on this whole digital awareness. Now, back in the days, I would even say, you would see emails, and underneath the emails they say, please think twice before printing out this email for saving the environment, basically. No? Nowadays, we should put, please think twice before answering me to this email, only if it's really necessary, because just sending the email creates CO2. No, the same what you mentioned. If we stream everything, it's every time new data that is used, the downloading once and maybe listening, let's say whatever, Spotify or whatever streaming platform you may be using to always stream everything you're doing all day, everything is streamed? Or do you sometimes think about, should I download it? You know? And the other thing you mentioned, programs and pictures on your phone, apps on your phone, also very important things. Maybe you just have installed, I don't know, 50, 60 or more apps because you can, and it's there and it's free. But they have to actualize all the update, all the time, and that creates lots of impact. And we don't need that necessarily. There's so many apps on our phones probably we have never used or we won't ever use again, and we could just delete them. No, this is another way to reduce our digital footprint. Yeah, that was basically my little excursion to e-waste and digital footprint. Just to close up, I would like to ask you 2 little questions, and it doesn't require a big analysis. What would you think are like the biggest challenges we still have when it comes to zero waste, maybe in our personal life? And the second question would be, where do you see we could have the biggest impact with small action, like thinking potential, big potential with what we're doing to achieve impact?
Mhm. I think the biggest challenge is really the way we live our society. So we have to do everything fast. And when we go to supermarkets, we really appreciate convenience, right? So it's easy for me just to grab the salads that are already in a packaging thing. And that is very difficult to say you have a better alternative here, because if I ask someone, can you try to be a little bit more zero waste or reduce your waste, it's difficult to compete with that because people really don't have time. They want, of course, to save time. And when you start living as a zero waste, or at least try to live a little bit more sustainable, in the beginning especially, you need to waste more time, of course, because you need to have your kit with your bags, and then when you go shopping you need to fill the jars, and so you are going to waste more time. So I think it's really difficult to compete with that. Another challenging, I think, it's also the price, because most of the things, not most, but some of the things are more expensive, especially if you try to also buy organic, in bulk and organic. And sometimes you don't have options near your work or your home. So you have to travel a little bit more. Imagine, of course, you can try if you go to the other side of town to pick something else, or to pick the kids, or to visit a member of your family. You can try and do the shopping that day, but still sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes I remember, oh, I need this now, so I'm going to the store next to my house. And most of the times you have the big chains, they are in strategical places, so it's easy to go there. So I think those are the big challenges. The second question, so I think I really talked a little bit about that. When you look to your trash can, I think you should start with the thing that you have the most, because then you will see the impact immediately. A tip that I always give, it's the water bottles, the plastic water bottles. If I was in charge, if I was the president of something, I will just stop producing those kinds of the plastic, because they don't need to exist. Of course, in some countries where you don't have good water to drink from the tap, of course they need to exist still. But most of the countries, especially in Europe, you have very good water. You can have a filter at home. You put a filter in the tap and you can drink the water safely. So you really don't need. So next time, even if you buy you can try stop buying the little ones, just buy a big bottle and then just fill your reusable one, and that will make a big difference. Another thing is just to see, like I talked before, try to reduce your organic waste, especially the food waste. And there are a lot of apps. I didn't mention them earlier. I want to mention them now. Like some apps that we have in Portugal, we also have in the Canary Islands, where you can just install the app and you can save food from going to trash. So it's basically the food that the restaurants cannot sell. And one of example is the app Too Good To Go. So you save a lot of money. You are eating a lot very good food, and the food doesn't go to waste. And it's the same thing when you try to buy less stuff. Instead of buying big packaging, if you buy the little ones, or if you buy in bulk, you are also saving food from go to waste. And another thing that I shared before, just go install the Share Waste app and see if someone around you is doing composting, or if you can start, if you have a little garden, you can do a composting at home. Even if you don't have a garden, you have a lot of different kinds of composting. You have the bokashi composting that you can do at home with a little bucket. And then you don't need to have a garden. And then what's left, so the composting itself, when it comes out, it's like a little liquid. You can just use it to water the plants. But if you don't have plants at home, when you go for a walk with your dog or by yourself, you can just water the plants that you have in the gardens near your house. And I think with those areas, the plastic one, the food one, you can make a big difference. Just another tip where you can make a big difference is just to consume less. it's a big difference. I think sometimes we are trying to solve this problem, the climate change, the sustainability issues. It's just like we are replacing our habits, our not habits, the stuff that we use with sustainable items. We cannot solve the problem the way we created the problem, right? So first, the first thing is just to reduce our consumption, consume less. Otherwise, this is not going to change. So next time, if you really want to buy something, just think, do I really need this? Or maybe I don't need it at all, or maybe I can exchange with a neighbor or with a friend, or maybe I can buy secondhand. I really think we need to think, to stop a little bit. So sometimes when people just ask me, Anna, if you can give just one tip, you just have 1 minute to give one tip, what do you say? I would say to live slower, because when we live slower, we have the time to think, and when we have the time to think, we are not going backwards again, because we see, oh, okay, this is the way it's working. Okay, this is not good. So we cannot then shut our eyes and pretend we didn't see it. So if we try to live a little bit slower, I think that will make a big difference.
Nothing to add to that. Thank you so much, Anna, for
Thank
joining
you.
us today and giving your insights and experiences. Hope to see you again. Maybe when you publish the English version of the book, I can
Yes,
talk
I
to you
hope so.
again. Anyways, you always see each other twice in life. So thank you so much for your time and joining us today.
Thank you.